Hey everyone, welcome to the Northern Strength Fitness Podcast. My name is Brandon and we have got a new year upon us. It is 2024. Welcome to a hopefully very exciting year for yourselves. I know it's going to be a good year for me. I've got my New Year's goals, and that's kind of going to be the theme of this. We're a couple weeks into New Year's, so if you have started a New Year's without goals or with goals, I think this podcast will be really nice for you. Whether you haven't or have set goals, I'm going to try to help you guys out with those goals. Relate a little bit to me. We're going to have a little health spin on it, a little fitness spin on it, but this can apply to you even if you don't have health and fitness goals. Maybe it's a money making goal. Maybe it's a relationship type goal. Maybe it's a go out and grow as a person goal, because that is the point of this podcast. Sure, we talk about health and fitness, but we use that as a stepping stone into how we can help ourselves outside of that health and fitness world. Because when we really think about it, it's all connected anyway. The more you look after your body, the better it is. So whether you think a New Year's goal is good or bad, that's totally up to you. I believe they're good because it's just a nice point that is a starting point. I also set goals throughout the other year or throughout the rest of the year too. But I think a New Year's goal is kind of just that nice thing. It's a nice, easy way to measure. And sometimes in goals, it's nice to be able to measure them, right? So my hope for this podcast that you guys get some insight from it and use it for this year, 2024. And I'm going to start stating some of my goals a little bit later on in the podcast. So you guys can see later on, check in with me and see if I actually reach some of my goals. I'm not going to give you guys all the details on some of the goals because some of them are a little bit more personal, private goals. But I'll give you guys a couple goals that I'm going to be working on towards, okay? But before we set goals, it's always a nice thing to reflect upon how the last year, how your last stint of goals went. So before you start setting yourself a goal, my first recommendation is do some deep thinking onto how have you been doing in the past. Because whether you've been successful in goals or not successful in your goals, you're going to try to use that as a tool to then improve upon for your goal setting and just for general life and in general life in anything, right? You're going to try to take from what you've done in the past, successful or not, and if you use it to grow, then you're going to be winning in the long-term piece, right? So even a failed goal from, let's say, last year's New Year's, let's say maybe you had a goal to quit smoking, right? And it's like, this is my year to quit smoking, and you didn't. What did you learn from that? Okay. Maybe it wasn't to go with the quit smoking thing. Maybe it was to quit a thing that I had. So here's one of my goals from last year, which I'm pretty proud about. I didn't say I was trying to quit it completely, but I wanted to not make it a big part of my life. Last year, my official New Year's easy-ish goal was to cut out coffee creamer. So I was a big coffee creamer person. I would wake up, and it was one of the things that used to get me out of bed. I don't know if you guys are like this, but it was the thought of how good that coffee would be with that coffee creamer, and that would get me out of bed. I'd be sitting there laying like, oh, that's going to be so good. Once I get out of bed, I can have that coffee and coffee creamer. So I definitely was craving, almost had an addiction to coffee creamer, but I knew that it's not the healthiest choice as far as calories in, calories out, nutrition-wise. So I thought, you know what? We started this Life Changer Challenge last year with the gym, talking about how you guys can get in higher protein, how you can start cutting out calories elsewhere. And my one thing I knew that I was getting a lot of was calories in my coffee creamer. And I decided to cut it out. I didn't go completely cut out. I still had some throughout the year, but I started replacing my coffee creamer with protein, which is really good. So you guys mix your coffee with protein. But throughout the year, I maybe had about 10 cups of coffee with coffee creamer, roughly. And just to give you guys a perspective, I usually have about 2 cups of coffee a day, okay? So out of the whole year to have only that much coffee with coffee, that was a pretty good goal. Set it, I made it achievable. I found a way to achieve that, and I did it, okay? So that is an idea about a goal that you can set and reflect upon. So it's nice to build off of that. A goal that I kind of had last year that I didn't do super great on, but still did fine on. A good learning experience was to look super fit, right? I wanted to get fit. I wanted to look fit. I wanted to have that fitness body. And I had moments throughout the year that I was really fit. I did our Life Changer Challenge, which was awesome. Helped me mentally, helped me physically, helped my body change. But then throughout the year, I kind of did the old roller coaster thing. I maintained about the same body. So this year, I'm going to take what I learned from last year, and now I am going to reapply and try to do better. So one of the failures I had last year, which I've cut out a lot in my head this year, was last year after I had lost some weight, my abs were showing, I was pretty fit, it was going good, but I got into home brewing, and I decided to brew about 3 batches worth of home brew, and it turned out really good. It was the homemade ciders. And let's just say closer to summer, there was a lot of cider drinking. And when you get alcohol in your system, you maybe don't make the best decisions as far as food goes. So let's just say my fit bod turned into more of a dad bod, which, hey, dad bods are apparently in, but I'm looking for that fit bod, and that was one of the things. So kind of lost that fit bod throughout the summer. Then I did the challenge again with some people. Hi, people, if you guys are listening to who did the challenge with me in the fall. It was awesome. And then got my bod back a bit. And then the Christmas season came around, got a little jiggly afterwards because I was just eating lots of food. Mom's baking. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. I'm sure you're going to watch this episode at some point. Very good, but there was a lot of food. So my mom is baking for the whole family, even though I'm the only kid left that actually stays at her place. So I was munching out a lot over that. So anyway, this year I'm going to not do the big homebrew stuff. I'm going to look back and try to find out where I had some faults and then move forward. So take yourself and reflect upon how your year went, all the good things. Use those opportunities, those good feels, those accomplishments as fuel, and then use the ones that you thought you were going to do. Try to reflect on them and use them also as fuel. Don't think of it as like, oh my gosh, this was the worst thing ever. Sometimes our biggest learnings are through the failures that we have, because that is where our greatest teacher can sometimes be, is in those failures. So take those failures, move forward with the year. Maybe now you're needing that because we're only a few weeks into the new year and you might be lacking that motivation. And I've mentioned this a lot on the podcast before, but motivation only lasts so long. And the discipline and all the stuff that you put around it is way more important. So that's where that goal setting, the goal tips. If you're looking for the episode where I talk a lot about this, click back on our YouTube channel. By the way, speaking of YouTube, thanks for the subscribers and also for the Spotify and the Apple Podcast. We're on all those platforms, but thank you again for subscribing, liking, commenting. All those things are awesome. I'm hoping to get more episodes on here. So reflect on last year. I started a podcast last year. I was super proud about that. I had some big accomplishments last year. Think about the big wins you had last year. Use that then to say, hey, if I can do those things, then you can do other things, right? So the podcast was a big thing for me. I grew the Northerner race. I talked about the Northerner race back in previous episodes, but it's an off-course race. Whoa. Hello. That was weird. I got a button that's kind of sticky here. Okay, so speaking of the button that's sticky here, I'll get that in a second. But I got an obstacle course race that I started here in Tisdale 2 years ago. We over doubled the participants this year, and we did a couple episodes with some participants on the podcast. So if you guys are interested in what the Northern Race is, it's a Canadian-themed obstacle course race. It's going to be held here in Tisdale. I put it through Northern Strength Fitness, which is my gym, and you guys are welcome to register that. We had people from all over the province, some people out of province starting to do it. I'm starting to reach out to different sponsors and different things to grow the race. So one of my goals here this year is to grow the race even more. I also ran a marathon last year. I'm not a runner. I used that as a way to showcase to people that were saying, oh, I can't run. I'm not a runner. And I've hardly run. I had a torn hamstring. I've hardly run, especially distance running, but I ran a full marathon. It took me 6.5 hours, 42.2 kilometers. Did it here in town on my own primarily, but I had some support people run with me, which is that whole goal setting thing about having a good environment Did that last year. And then with the sticky buttons here, so I actually took this podcast system, which is really cool, and I brought it to Seattle last year, and I got to meet some buddies that were gaming friends, but I got to do a podcast with a really cool individual. He's a friend of mine that we got to meet in person, and it was just like as if we were friends for years, because we were friends for years, for 10 years. We did a podcast. His name's Lava, and he is a almost professional bodybuilder down in the States. So the next podcast that goes out will have me discussing just life in general, a little bit about him and his bodybuilding background, and also how like gamers, if you're a gamer, how gamers can still get fit and do the things by sneaking in gaming, because he's a very good gamer. We still game. We had a game together just the other night, a few nights ago. We ended up losing that game. But anyway, so the next episode is going to be actually a throwback to when I was in Seattle last year. First time I traveled a long time. So I met up with him. I met up with another friend named Amir. He was part of our gaming group. So we all met for this World Championship gaming tournament called Dota 2. So I packed up my podcast equipment because I wanted to get a chance to talk with Lava and kind of find out about his fitness journey and talk about how games and stuff like that. But when I packed this all up, the buttons on this thing got kind of squished in it. So now they're kind of giving me some feedback. So I might have to give the company a little bit of a shout. But then anyway, that's a long way to talk about how the voice changed to this robot voice, because the button on here was kind of compressed in the traveling. So I need a case for this, I think, next time I travel. All right. So anyway, reflect on your goals. A good goal, and we're going to talk about this, which is a fitness channel. If you're into the goal of getting fit this year, here's a news flash. Your goal shouldn't be just to get fit. It should be to stay fit. Get there for sure. And I like short-term goals, but think it's not just to get there, it's to stay there. And that long process, that respectful process, the one that you're going to go, the hard route most likely, is going to be the one that's going to get you there and stay there. So it's about learning. It's about setting up a good environment. It's about having achievable goals, but challenging goals that you feel rewarded with. It's about trying to make it a routine, make it a part of your lifestyle. Getting into shape sometimes isn't that hard. It might seem hard, but what the harder thing is changing all of the things around you, your lifestyle, that support that goal for the long term. Okay, so when I was reflecting back to myself from last year, it was, what did I do that threw me off? And one was that homebrew alcohol stuff, right? So it's like, hey, it was cool to do the homebrew, and it was a nice experience. I actually thought about opening a brewery for a long time. Now I know that's not something that I want to do anytime soon, because it's just too much time consuming. I'd rather focus on helping people through the fitness world. That's more of a passion of mine, where the alcohol does kind of the opposite, kind of throws them yin and yang, I guess, I suppose. You guys can make fun of me for that, but I do like the social aspect of a cool little brewery. If you've ever been to a microbrewery, they're pretty fun little places to visit. But yeah, if you're trying to get into shape, the goal is to stay in shape, okay? And if you haven't even decided or picked a goal, it's a really damn good goal to do. I know it's the whole New Year's one, but the quote that I had heard, and I sent this out to a few people, and if you're like debating whether or not you should join the gym or get in shape or start working out or whatever goal it might be, making more sales calls, going to more of your kids' games, what could be some quitting the smoking, right? All those things. This quote that kind of stuck with me was, how did it go? It was, the heaviest things in life aren't the precious metals that we think of, the ores, the titaniums, the golds, the silver. It's the weight of the unmade decisions that we have in our heads. So if you have a decision that you're debating, should I do this or should I not? The heaviness of you saying no to that can sometimes be the heaviest decisions that you make throughout your life. So use that in a perspective of, hey, this is a new year. It's a new starting opportunity. And you can come up with whatever you want in your head as ways to avoid those, or you can make the decision and be like, you know what? I do want to lose 20 pounds. I know the things that have to happen. Here is what I need to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try for it. Because if you don't try for it, that decision might weigh on you a lot heavier than if you actually tried it and failed. Because if at least you try and you fail, again, we can relearn, go after it again, process it. If you never try, you'll never know. So take that into a grain of salt, okay? That brings me to like a little thing I want to talk about here with that never try, you never know. So speaking of future podcasts, one of our podcast members from our highest, I think one of our highest viewed videos of the past year, had a podcast with Candace. So if you guys watch that episode, this is a little shout back to that. But she's a local gal here. And she made the decision to go and check out Australia. So right now, as I'm filming this live, she's actually on a plane right now. I chatted with her a few hours ago. She's on a plane from Vancouver, I believe, over to New Zealand right now. And then she's going to be going over to Australia. She's been a teacher. You guys can look back at the episode. But she's diving into this whole like, hey, I need to make a decision. This is a good opportunity in my life. If I don't do this, this could be a huge regret for me. In the sense of what would have happened if I would have went on this trip. And now she doesn't have to think about it. Now she's going on a trip, right? She has done it. She's has a friend that's helped her out a lot. I happened to have that same situation back when I was in my young 20s. I had a trip over to London, England, where I taught over there. And I thought, hey, this is a good opportunity. I better do this now. And man, was it life opening. And if I didn't do that, and if I all of a sudden was sitting here and be like, well, what would happen if I didn't do that? Then those are those weights that we want to try to lift off ourselves, especially when it comes to you growing as an individual. If you're going to be growing as an individual, you got to seek some challenge in that. It's not supposed to be certain. If it is certain and you know what you're doing, then that's not really much of a growth opportunity. If you're going out there and you're trying to seek growth, you probably won't really know what's going on. And that's what growth feels like. It's a little discomforting, right? But you get used to that discomfort and then you start to crave it and seek it. Because when you come out on the other end, you apply it for a win, you start to get hungry for more of those growth opportunities, more of those wins. Because now all of a sudden it's like, wow, I've unlocked door number 1, door number 2, and maybe even door number 3 based on experience. If I haven't got door number 3, let's go out there and get another experience to grow from. So getting out there, finding those opportunities that feel discomforting. It might be joining the gym. It might be listening to this podcast and be like, you know what, I'm going to join the gym. That's my opportunity. Might be working out at home. I might be saying no to potato chips every single night or no to booze 4 nights a week, right? Those opportunities that make you feel discomforting, those are supposed to feel discomforting because it wouldn't be growth if it wasn't uncomfortable. You're sitting in your comfort zone, you're feeling good, that means you're not growing, and you only got one crack at this life. My message is don't just go through life, grow through life. I've said that multiple times in the podcast, and I will continue to say that as our message is. And as you grow, the individuals around you start to grow, and that's how we grow healthy, strong communities. So one big push this year is to start getting myself out in the community more. I do a good amount of the community, but it would be better if I can get out and do more things, affect more people outside of my little gym bubble. And I work a lot. I'm looking at maybe hiring some people this year, so that could be something you guys can check in on me with that. Did the hiring go okay? But I want to start being able to get out, reach more people. The podcast was last year's thing to get on digital stuff, but now I'm looking at a community. How can I get out there and grow the reach, start to affect people by saying, hey, what's your secret? Like I went to a guest speaking thing the other day at school. I probably rambled on a lot, kind of like I would at this podcast, but I had a lot of energy. I was passionate about it, and I hope they saw that within me. And those are the kind of things that I want to go out there. So if you're listening to this podcast, by the way, and you need a guest speaker to talk about goal setting, fitness, health, entrepreneurship, stuff like that, those are the kind of things that I want to start reaching out for. I want to start helping people. I took on a client on a mentorship program. So I'm mentoring them in a sense. So if you're looking for those kind of things too, we could discuss that. But the opportunities to grow never end if you're looking for them, okay? What else can we talk about in this sense of New Year's goals? Nutrition. Let's talk about nutrition for a second. So, nutrition, that's a big thing. So, you can work out. One thing is getting to the gym, working out. The other part is trying to manage that nutrition side of stuff. So, we got the Life Changer Challenge, which is a 6-week challenge. You can lose 5% of your body weight and actually earn the money back in 2 ways. But we do an educational nutrition seminar, and there's a ton of information out there on nutrition. But one thing you got to realize, you got to start looking at food as fuel. And this year, if you can like do something to look as food as fuel, and then that fuel could be you as a supercar engine going out there working out, and you want to give your supercar the best fuel possible because you want it to perform well. You don't want to put in this little crappy engine fuel that's going to barely burn your motor. I'm not much of a car guy, as you guys can probably tell. But you want to feed your body the stuff that's going to help it perform. So when you're performing well, the rest of life just gets easier. I'm sure you guys know that, right? So nutrition is a huge thing. And if you guys want to tackle nutrition stuff, big keys are prioritize protein, especially working out. Look at healthy carbs, broccolis. I know the vegetables are good. Limit the processed foods. Cut out the alcohol. All those types of things you guys know. That could be a good thing. But look at food as fuel. And then the other part of that is surrounding yourself with people that have those same ambitions. There was somebody in the gym the other day, I don't want to name names, but they were talking about how they were out somewhere visiting somebody. And this person has been doing amazing in the gym. They have crushed it for the last about 2 years or so, despite life giving them all kinds of obstacles through family life and stuff like that. They continue to come to the gym, and I'm extremely proud of them. So if you're listening, you know who you are. Awesome job. But they were talking to me about how they went out and they were visiting a friend, and the friend said they had some guy over. I think they were maybe dating. I don't want to get into the nings and nacks, but that person's guy friend was cooking, and the guy friend started attacking her, trying to get her to eat this food. And she said, no, I'm not hungry, this and that. Plus, I know she's trying to like watch what she eats in a sense, make healthier choices. And if she had her limit for the food that day or whatever, or she was just trying to say no. And this guy started saying, oh, you're one of those people. You go to the gym and you care what you eat and you don't want to eat the... And I tried to like flip it on her when she was telling me this story. I said, yeah, you damn right you're one of those people. You're one of those people that respect your body. You respect the hard work. You want to take care of this one thing you're stuck with the rest of your life, which is your body. So you're damn right you're one of those people that don't just need to give in to every opportunity to eat despite what some random person decides to offer you. Or even if it's not a random person, it's your friend. I mean, I'm not maybe a good example because I was talking about sorry, Mom. Your baking is very good, but my mom offers me lots of bakings, and I didn't say no a lot this holiday. But sometimes people around you can affect those decisions that you make on nutrition or the exercise or financial decisions or relationship decisions or growing as a person decisions. And maybe sometimes it's better to remove yourself from those situations, right? Not saying, Mom, that I'm going to remove you from my area, but sometimes it is nice to feel less pressure to do things because people are in line with the goals that you're trying to do, right? And if they are in line with the goals you're trying to do, those are the type of people that you want to align yourself with more and more this year. So if I can give you a challenge this year, it's try to find the people that you want to align yourself with versus trying to force yourself into these groups just to fit in. I'm not saying that was a situation, but maybe you're in that situation like, hey, this doesn't feel right to me. Maybe that's a good sign to be, hey, they don't align with my goals. Sorry. Here we go. We'll be completely honest. I got dating apps and I'm single, and I find a lot of people on those dating apps that are not for me. They're just unaligned with my goals, not ambitious in the sense that, hey, you know what? I just want to do A, B, and C. And I'm like, I want to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I want to go through the whole alphabet twice. And then I really want to find out. And sometimes it's just that disconnect or the difference in goals and trying to find the people that are within that realm of your goals to go with that. So, nutrition. That was a good thing. We talked about exercise, nutrition, mindset. What can we end on here? We've got a decent podcast here. I was going to try to get Bella on the podcast. She's, maybe you guys saw her or not, but anyway, Bella's here with me. A couple things here to end off on for the last little bit would be, if you have a goal, this is another little quote that I had. If you have a goal and you're working towards it, but you know you have to sacrifice some stuff for it, this is where the quote comes in. So if you have a goal and you're trying to sacrifice for it, but you're not willing to, all of a sudden the goal becomes a sacrifice and not those other things. So you have to prioritize what's more important for you sacrificing for. Is it the stuff that you're already doing? Are you willing to sacrifice that for this goal, or that goal that you've had in your mind for probably a long time, or maybe it's brand new? Can you get rid or sacrifice those things in your life that are getting in the way of that goal? So going back to that example that I just talked about, can you do those sacrifices? If not, then you might need to rephrase and find a new goal, right? I'm not saying that you have to get rid. It's just one of those measuring things. Hey, here's my goal. My goal might be having a shredded six-pack, getting ready for a bodybuilding competition. All the steps in between that, are you willing to sacrifice everything? Maybe. Do it. Go for it, because you got one opportunity, right? You'll never know unless you don't want to weigh on it. If you wanted to go for a bodybuilding competition, get on stage, do those things, feel that, be a part of that awesome, look good, feel good, all those types of things. I'm sure there's will be some times. But the other thing is, if you're not into that, then it doesn't mean you have to stop on it. It's okay, well, maybe you just want to have a nice, fit, healthy body, right? Look at some of the healthier ways to get still in shape without being maybe bodybuilder 10% or less fat, right? Those are still really good goals to have. So just remember that if you are looking for a goal to set this year, make sure that it is something that you are passionate about, something that you're not scared to sacrifice for, because those are the goals that you make the best. Turn it into a short-term goal or a long-term goal. And even if you set a goal now and you happen to fail it, take those lessons and learn from it, and then put it forward. And then when you have those wins, again, tying this to other stuff, apply it to something else. So if I have my few goals this year, which would be to get in shape, stay in shape. I have a goal written on the board, Ab by April. I want to hire some people this year. I want to expand my reach this year. I want to have more podcasts this year. So those are some goals that I'm having. I'm hoping I can knock them all off the list. If I can't, then I'm not going to call it a complete failure. I'm going to look back, see what I could have done differently, reflect on it, and then next year, hopefully on the podcast, we'll have a recap of this. And maybe you guys will be able to tell me or comment about your goals down there on the YouTube. And I don't even know how Spotify and those things work for comments. But if you guys are excited about this year, I'm excited about this year. We got hopeful growth in a lot of things. So thank you again for the support in the channel. I will be looking forward to sharing Lava's podcast next. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll talk about fitness a little bit in that. We'll talk about lifestyle. That'll be next. And then we're going to be rolling into some more podcasts. If you guys want to be on the show, let me know. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it just sounded great. And after that, we'll have a great rest of your 2024. Maybe see you at Northern Race. Maybe see you at the gym. Crush those goals. Maybe next time Bella could be on a guest list. But thank you again. You guys have a great year and hopefully reflect on last year. And this is Brandon with the Northern Strength Fitness Podcast, signing off.